Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pit Stop April 2022 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, here to help set the ongoing record straight. This month, you'll hear a few audio snippets from my peers in the land of Viva. You're going to hear from Naomi Moneypenny discuss progress that we're seeing with Viva Topics and its latest feature in Outlook, plus insights about Viva Insights from Erik Anderson. Beyond the breadth of Viva innovation, we'll focus on everything that landed this month, a few related items, and the always fun teasers to look into next month. This podcast is your 30-minute roadmap extravaganza to stay ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. It's time to kick back and get informed about all the tech that rolled out in April 2022. Let's kick off things hearing from my peer, Naomi Moneypenny. In this clip, Naomi first describes the amazing momentum and adoption growth she and the Viva Topics team are seeing within Microsoft 365 in production. And she then shares more about the latest feature, the Topics experience, and value in Outlook on the web. Here's Naomi live from the April 2022 Microsoft 365 conference opening keynote in Vegas.
Now, I've been really proud. This has been a kind of an amazing journey. We've had a whole set of new technologies that come together. AI behind the scenes that's incredibly powerful. Liquid nitrogen cooled servers behind the scenes that are processing billions and billions of documents every single day. And so we're really happy to see in the last year or so, for the customers who've adopted Viva Topics, we have discovered 1 million topics, 1 million more actually, in fact, 1 million topics that are here. And that's basically unlocking knowledge inside of your SharePoint intranet and beyond. So thinking through those billions of documents, imagine if you could have that robot intern, essentially, who's reading through all of the content and figuring out what are topics inside of your organization. And so that's what we're doing with Viva Topics, just an incredible amount of work behind the scenes. And now we're making this easier for you to see all of this processing. So right now, we've got generally available, there's new insights that are available as part of Topics Discovery. So you can actually see all of the content that we're looking through. You can figure out how many topics have been extracted as part of that too. And then you can see how many have been created by your users. So make it even simpler for you to understand that from an administration perspective. But that's not all. We really want to think about how do we bring you these topics, these knowledge in the flow of work. And so I'm really delighted that we're actually doing even better here. We're generally available in Outlook on the web, and the ability to bring topics directly into those experiences that you use every day. And so in this case, I want to sort of help a little bit to understand what this is meaning. So I've got a sort of example of a thread that helps me to understand, like, hey, I get this thread, it comes in, I don't really understand what it is. You've all had that situation where somebody's forwarded you a bunch of email and you're like, what is this thing all about, right? What is this long email thread? Do I have to really look through all of this? And we want to make it really simple for you to understand what topics are mentioned in there and disambiguate all those acronyms, etc. that's part of this. And so when you think about this, it's a really powerful pattern. What if I could send a bunch of shared context to everybody in my organization? What if I could just easily say, this is my project name, this is what it stands for, here's all the resources you should look at, here are some of the subject matter experts that are associated with it. What if I could just send all of that context in just a hashtag? And so that's what we're bringing with Viva Topics. So generally available right now in Outlook on the web. Say less, hashtag mean more with Viva Topics.
You can manually use hashtags to attach topic cards to any message. Viva Topics can then display those to your readers with suggested additional topics in the message pane. One note from my friend Chris McNulty, he built out a really nice click-through demo of this entire experience. And if you want to see it, make sure to go to the related blog. I'll have it embedded so you can take it for a click. There's a lot of information about what Topics is, and bringing that into Outlook is a wonderful marriage of technology. So staying with Viva Topics for a bit, also this month, Viva Topics Insights. That's with a little I, not to conflate Viva Topics and Viva Insights. This is insights about Viva Topics. As soon as Viva Topics is activated for your Microsoft 365 tenant, you will see a count of the files processed and topics that are discovered from those files. As more topics are discovered and your knowledge managers and users are engaged, you will see a visible topics count on a breakdown of topics discovered, created by users, hidden by settings, and removed. You'll see everything. To access these new insights in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, expand Settings and select Search and Intelligence. On the Insights tab, select Viva Topics. It's a great way to stay informed about the work Topics is doing on your behalf and the impact that it's having day to day on the experience of you and your business colleagues. Next up, Microsoft Stream. You can now comment on a video or audio file now that it's in the SharePoint Files platform or in OneDrive, depending on where you put that video file or where it gets created for you. This feature allows you to have threaded conversations on a video or audio file that's saved in OneDrive or SharePoint through a cohesive and familiar commenting experience like the one that's used in Lists, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. And in similar fashion to the broader commenting service, from an IT perspective, there's an existing tenant-level control setting should you want to disable comments altogether. That's the comments on files disabled if you dive in and want to control that from an IT perspective. Video is a special kind of file type from the breadth of content that it holds, but the value of having audio and visual files stored in SharePoint on the Files platform, that same common platform for all of Microsoft 365, means that you get all the valuable benefits as any other documents. That means you can then have a consistency in how you share them, who you can share them to, that's managed by permissions in the same way, how you collaborate around them, how they're manageable and governable from an IT perspective, and so much more. Video file is a great file type, but to the file service and the file system, it just treats it as any other file, which means you get all the great goodness that's already baked in to the SharePoint Content Services Files platform. And last in this area of employee engagement, we will talk about a feature that's made for creators. Now, when you're in SharePoint, you can now create directly from the SharePoint app bar. This new feature allows you to create sites, files, and lists right from within the SharePoint app bar. Whenever you're in SharePoint, wherever you are, you will see the SharePoint app bar if it's enabled for you. Select the Create command, which is the plus sign on the app bar, and then select an option from SharePoint Sites, Microsoft Lists, or Office Files, which leads you in to create either Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and OneNote. As users create each of the different assets included in the panel, they will launch the Create experience for that format. One note, the new Create command cannot be disabled or customized. However, if you have previously disabled self-service site creation, the option to create a site will not appear on the Create panel of the SharePoint app bar. And just to go a little bit deeper to get a sense of what happens with the various content types when you click into them to create from the SharePoint app bar, the site creation will launch the SharePoint site creation panel in the site that you're in. So for instance, if you're in a hub, the site will be associated within the hub when it gets created. If it's not, it'll just create a site as you would expect. Through the list creation experience, this from the SharePoint app bar will open a new tab and take you through the Create experience in Microsoft Lists. And for Office Files, this will create the document in your OneDrive site until you have distinguished it to go store it in a different location. So a great new Create experience. So if you're a creator, get creating directly from the SharePoint app bar. Turning left, moving into teamwork. This first one is a great one for those that like to take your information and tracking information on the go. This is Microsoft Lists for Android. First, there was lists for iOS, which was appropriate and applicable to iPhone and iPad. And now for all you Androids out there, folks who have watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate, those moments are not lost in time like tears in rain. No, it's just a little time to ship. It took us a little bit extra to get there, but we've gotten there. And we know now that there are just those few tears left. They're going to dissipate as you and Roy Batty no longer have to wait. That's right. Wait no further. This is not a Voight comp test. This is the Microsoft Lists for Android app, now available in the Google Play Store. With this new app, you can access your lists on the go, anytime, anywhere, now, any device, iOS or Android. Now, specific to Android, just like the iOS, you can manage your events, track issues and assets, help with new employee onboarding, and keep coordinated across inventory. Of course, there's a lot of scenarios that you can do and use to access your information on the go. Then you can move into common scenarios like easily sharing or quickly capturing a photo and aligning it to a list item. You can keep everyone connected with the latest information using Microsoft Lists. One little part for clarification, the app is currently available to members of an organization that have an Office 365 or Microsoft 365 commercial subscription, and to be specific, one that includes SharePoint. Which really means if you have an Office 365 commercial org ID, the one that's associated to Azure Active Directory, your credentials for your tenant, then go for it. You'll be able to install this app, sign in with your org ID, and off you go. The caveat really is we have not yet enabled the Lists for Android app to be aligned with the new Microsoft accounts work that we're doing. We do have a preview that we're running from a consumer or small business perspective to use your MSA or your Microsoft account to log into Microsoft Lists. During this preview at this current time, you can't log into Microsoft Lists to access those consumer lists if you're using the Microsoft Lists MSA preview. It's on the docket. It will be coming soon, but just know if you download the app and you want to access it with your MSA, we're not quite there. So get the app in the Google Play Store. Just type in on your mobile device aka.ms/mslists/app/Android. And on your Android device, you will enjoy all the lists at your fingertips. And like Rick Deckard, the original Nexus 6 Android, we await your feedback. Next up in teamwork is the ability to create and manage Power Apps from Microsoft Lists, all within Microsoft Teams. That's a bit of a mouthful, but I guarantee you it's a ton of great innovation in a much more integrated fashion. This gives you the ability to build low-code, mobile-friendly apps from Lists directly inside of Teams via the new integration that we have with Power Apps. A published app can be added as a tab in a Teams channel and shared with the rest of your team while maintaining its connection to the list as the source of data. Now, technically, this feature has been around for a while in SharePoint, in the SharePoint user experience. The value now is that you can go from your list that you created or added as a tab in Teams and take advantage of creating an app in the experience within the list UI within that same Teams tab. Again, without leaving Teams. That's huge innovation coming together. It's a lot of work on our end. We hope that it really equates to a simplicity of creating an app with the source of data being your list and the final experience of somebody clicking through by design whatever it is you do in Power Apps with that data. A much more unified creation experience altogether. Next is the last and latest list innovation for the Microsoft List calendar view experience. There is now an unscheduled pane. You will see a new unscheduled tab within the events pane to the right within the list calendar view. The items with missing start and or end dates and those with start dates that are later than the end date would appear in this pane. You can then select the items to open and edit them right directly in line and make the appropriate edits to then schedule them so that they will appear in the main calendar of the calendar view. This feature follows the logic and experience of something like a document library where you might see files that need attention. You get that visual cue that something is missing, you fix it, and bam, all is right in the world. With a little bit of a teaser and a tickler of something that needs your attention or needs to be fixed, you fix it right there and then everybody else can see the final of what you've done. Then an item appears on the calendar. That's lists for April 2022. Let's move on to 2 OneDrive features that got added this past month. We're going to start with some file navigation innovation. So with OneDrive and SharePoint, you can access your team's standard and private channels in a more unified way. A lot happens in SharePoint as you create and use various types of channels in Microsoft Teams. Primarily, the associated Files tab in each channel creates a unique folder or a unique site for those files for that channel. So when a person navigates to the document library of a SharePoint site that's associated with that team, there is now an in quotes in channel section, which is visible and collapsed by default. Now, this in channel section includes all standard and private channels content within the team, and private channels, if you have permissions to them, will be distinguished with a specific icon. The in channel section will only appear when a user navigates to the default document library of a SharePoint site that's connected to a Teams team. 2 quick notes on this one. The in-channel section will not be visible if the SharePoint site is not connected to Teams. And when shared channels becomes available, which we're all tracking in the progress that we're making on that one, they will also appear under this in-channels section. Really it just means an aggregate of any file that's aligned to a team and then broken up by nature of if you have permissions across the different channel types, private, standard, and then coming soon with shared. The next OneDrive feature is all about organizing to get fast access to those commonly used locations. This is a fun one to demo because it really is 2 clicks and you just immediately get it. With OneDrive, you can now pin shared libraries to the quick access, which is an area of your OneDrive when you go to the web. We're adding the capability to pin shared libraries to quick access in the OneDrive web so that you can easily find and access those places where you regularly work. We're also surfacing a list of your recently used shared libraries in more places. So when you're in OneDrive, we will help to navigate to all of those places, ones that you pin and ones that you have recently opened files from. Pinning a document library will add it to the top of the quick access section, very similar to the pin to quick access feature with Windows File Explorer. You'll be able to unpin document libraries from the quick access section as well, as you would expect. This command will only appear at the document library level and will not be available when you navigate into a folder or a subfolder of a site. Easiest way to remember it is pin, pin, pin for the win, win, win. As we move to the last teamwork feature from April 2022, I wanted to start with a nice audio clip from my peer, Erik Anderson. He is from the Viva Insights team to lay the foundation for what Viva Insights is and much of the design approach for individuals, for team leads, and for the broader organizational, all that value packaged in 3 different ways within Viva Insights. And I'll catch you on the flip side to share more about the recent Viva Insights innovation, which is the shared focus plans. Here's Erik with more on Viva Insights.
Essentially, what's happened is employees have started to realize that there's a lot of benefit from a flexible work situation. And a lot of employees want a lot of these flexible remote work options to stay. At the same time, they're recognizing that there's something missing when you're fully remote, when you can't work in person with your colleagues. And so we've got this situation where all of us as employees have this tug of war that we're dealing with between wanting to be flexible, but also wanting to have that really strong and meaningful interaction with all of our colleagues. Microsoft Viva Insights brings data into the conversation around employee experience, which historically may have been thought of as a more qualitative type of discussion, one that's hard to measure, one that's hard to get really tangible with data. And with Viva Insights, we're changing that conversation. We're making it data-driven and using that data to make it more biased towards action so that we can actually drive positive change within the organization. Microsoft Viva Insights does that by providing privacy protected insights and actual recommendations across the organization. And it does that along two dimensions. First, it helps you understand how you work and what are those working patterns that are happening within your company that helps work get done. And second, it helps bring actionable recommendations within the flow of work. And it does this by surfacing it in multiple places. It does it in Teams, where a lot of people are doing a lot of their work in collaboration today through the Microsoft Viva Insights Teams app. It does it in Outlook, in both the Outlook client and the email inbox itself. And it does it through web experience as well.
Viva Insights is growing on me as a unique new app in my productivity arsenal to protect my time, remind me of actionable things that I need to do, the things that I've discussed with my peers, and achieve a little mindfulness among it all. Truly is one of those apps that I at least use once a week, alongside those things that I would consider my daily driver type apps. This past month, the Viva Insights team began to release some new innovation, one that gets to be insights in a collaborative notion. That is, shared focus plans inside Viva Insights app in Teams. Last month, we talked about focus plans for individuals. Now, Viva Insights is releasing new capabilities to help teams protect time for focused work. The shared focus plan will enable managers and team leads with a Microsoft Viva Insights license to foster mutual productivity norms and drive a positive team culture by inviting teams to coordinate focus time for uninterrupted work. An enrolled manager can invite their team to book daily, uninterrupted focus time to get their work done. A shared focus plan helps your team build shared productivity habits. So it's a great thing for a lead to be able to mindfully approach how the team works together. And of course, like I mentioned at the very front of this feature, there's a lot that you can do in Viva Insights as an individual to protect your time, to discover those things around you that you need as a reminder, or to mindfully meditate at times so that you are not going crazy in your work world. That wraps up teamwork. Time to move into related technology. You might have heard that Microsoft announced Microsoft Purview, your home for Microsoft 365 compliance solutions. So, as of April 19th, 2022, Microsoft 365 compliance solutions will be consolidated under the Microsoft Purview brand name. This change will bring together Microsoft 365 compliance solutions and Azure Purview into a single portfolio and will align the naming of various solutions for consistency with other offerings. To give you a sense, not to enumerate everything of what this implies, here are a few of the previous and current name pairings. So before, Azure Purview was called Azure Purview. Now it's called Microsoft Purview. Before, Microsoft 365 Compliance Center is now Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal. Previously, the advanced e-discovery in Microsoft 365 is now referred to as Microsoft Purview e-discovery. Microsoft Information Protection is now called Microsoft Purview Information Protection. And the last example, records management in Microsoft 365 is now referred to as Microsoft Purview Records Management. All the same capabilities, all the same innovation that existed carries forward into the new branding. And of course, carrying forward, that's where you're going to hear a lot of the innovation under that umbrella of Microsoft Purview. I will link out to the announcement blog so you can see all the previous and current name mappings so you can get used to what the new name is and how it applies to something that you may have known in the past. But I also wanted to share, because this is a focus of what is SharePoint and Microsoft 365, I wanted to share a quick OneDrive and SharePoint technology note as it relates to Purview. There's a ton of SharePoint technology in Microsoft 365 security and compliance portfolio all up. Things like information barriers, labels, e-discovery, data loss prevention, and of course, a lot more. So on my peer and his team, Seshamani, there's the want to let you know that there's a ton of value and benefit that underlies Microsoft Purview that carries forward a lot of that core security and compliance technology innovation that the SharePoint team has been driving for quite some time. A lot of premium content services with the goal of providing strong compliance and security innovation to the content you trust and use in Microsoft 365. Trust in the context of security. Really great news in terms of just the consolidation that we can refer to it as one singular entity, Microsoft Purview, but it really relates and positions things in a much more broad sense. When you think of what does Microsoft offer around compliance, you can look into that window of Microsoft Purview. Next up is a very simple but powerful one in the new Yammer experience, and that's Bookmarks. Based on user feedback, the team is making it a lot easier to get back to those important conversations. You're now able to bookmark any conversation in Yammer for future reference and access and manage bookmarks from your profile page in Yammer. It's pretty easy to bookmark a discussion. You just go to the upper right of the individual discussion, click on the vertical ellipses menu, and select Bookmark. And when you no longer need to reference it, or you just want to clean up your bookmarks, you go through that same action, and this time you remove bookmark. A really easy way to get back to those important discussions, especially if it's something that you want to flag to do later. Last bit of related technology news. This is a fun one if you've been using Whiteboard, wherever you've been using Whiteboard, in the Whiteboard app, Whiteboard in Teams, Whiteboard in Surface. But this is a new dawn. This is a new day for Whiteboard. So Whiteboard files now will be stored on the SharePoint Files platform. This means going forward, when you create a new whiteboard, it'll be a .whiteboard file for the first time. Now, that's a huge deal. Whiteboard now in SharePoint and OneDrive, again, depending on where you create it, if it's an individual experience or one that's meant to be shared with the team, you can now manage and organize your boards like the rest or any Microsoft 365 file, like Excel, OneNote, and more. That means whiteboards are now searchable in Microsoft Search. They appear in your office.com experience along all of your other files and pages and news. They're easier to share. They're better in the form of collaboration because they use that collaborative glue that the SharePoint Files platform offers. And this is pretty important for all IT managers out there. Now with a .whiteboard file in the SharePoint Files platform, it truly meets all of those rigors of IT compliance and governance and anything that you would need to do to manage that file. I will drop in a link in the blog that's pretty unique. It's a link from Ian Micotol, who is one of the leads. He's the head of product for Microsoft Whiteboard in Teams and Surface. And he just had a really fun announcement tweet about this move of the Whiteboard file in SharePoint. And essentially, we should all just chalk this up as another win for a new content type available on the powerful content service that powers more and more of the Microsoft 365 experience each day. It is now time for teasers. Let's move from the whiteboard more to the drawing board, one that predicts and draws the future with high certainty. Let's focus on the future that's just around the corner of our calendars. Here are two teasers for what's coming in May 2022. Teaser number 1. Section templates for SharePoint pages and news. It's just going to help you create content much more quickly, especially section templates that are already pre-populated with a lot of important web parts. Instead of doing things manually, just plop in a new section template. Teaser number 2, Microsoft Stream, view and edit audio-video file information. This just gives you a better plumbing to affect the different content metadata types that you find and to be able to adjust right there in line when you're working with an audio or a video file. That's it this month with the Peek Ahead. We'll share more details about these and other updates within the SharePoint Roadmap Pitstop May 2022 edition next month. We've added learn more links per feature, plus a list of important resources in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post of the Microsoft Tech community published to the SharePoint community blog. I hope you've enjoyed this roadmap pit stop. Time to pump the brakes, relax, and know that you are all caught up. If anything still leaves you scratching your head, open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to theintrozone@microsoft.com. We're here to put our and your best change management foot forward. Thank you for taking that step with us into the cloud month after month. May the 4th be with you. This is Mark Cashman saying April showers bring May features on the roadmap ahead.